with Britain, South Africa, and Southern Rhodesia, not to mention 8 years steeped in British hypocrisy. The young woman was Ruth Williams, who would eventually become Lady Ruth Khama, passing away at the age of 78 from throat cancer. Born in Black, South London, her father was a former Indian Army captain engaged in the tea trade. During World War II, he departed from Eltham High School to join the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, serving as an ambulance driver and working at an emergency landing station at Beaky Head. Following the war, she transitioned into role as confidential clerk with Lloyd's underwriter. Her leisure activities included ice skating, dancing, and enjoying jazz music. Seretse, after spending a year at Balliol College, Oxford, was immersing himself in the study of law at the Temple while residing in hostel near Marble Arch. He encountered Ruth at dance hosted by the London Missionary Society. After a year of courtship, they resolved to tie the knot. In September 1948, Seretse penned letter to his uncle Seretse Khama, who was then acting as the leader of the Bamangwato tribe. He later remarked that he refrained from seeking his uncle's permission, fully aware that it would be refused. In Bechuanaland, the chief's wife was traditionally perceived as the mother of the tribe, and Seretse could not fathom a white woman assuming such a role. He even endeavored to obstruct the marriage by enlisting the involvement of the British High Commissioner, navigating through the Colonial Office. The minister, who had initially agreed to officiate their marriage, later reversed his decision, forwarding their request to the Bishop of London, Dr. John Ward. The bishop, feeling the weight of pressure from the British government, informed them they could only proceed with the marriage if sanctioned by the government. Seretse and Ruth adjusted their wedding date to an earlier time than October, ultimately uniting in a register office. Ruth faced the loss of her job, and her father expelled her from their home. Alone, Seretse returned to Bechuanaland. Seretse convened a Kietla, a tribal general council, where at this gathering, 14 out of 15 significant royal blood relatives opposed the union. Consequently, Seretse journeyed back to London to continue his legal studies. 6 months later, the colonial administration sided with the Kaygatla's verdict to reject Ruth as tribal queen. Simultaneously, suspicions arose that Seretse harbored ambitions for the chieftainship for himself, deepening the rift between uncle and nephew. Upon Seretse's return to Bechuanaland, he faced a crowd of 4,000 at a second Kaygatla. Seretse initiated discourse proclaiming he would relinquish leadership to Seretse, but warned, if he brings his white wife here, I will fight him to the death. He urged his followers to show their allegiance, and I did. Responding, Seretse addressed the crowd, and 43 individuals stood to signify their disapproval of his stance. Sensing swell of support, he called for those aligned with him to rise, and to his amazement, every attendee arose, exclaiming, Winston Churchill, who stated that it had been a very disreputable transaction. In South Africa, the nationalist newspaper Die Transvaaler gloated, while attempting to uphold with platitudes the whitewashed facade of liberalism the British government has, in practice, conceded to the demands of apartheid. Back in London, when the Conservatives regained power in 1951, they indefinitely prolonged Seretse's banishment, asserting that his return would jeopardize peace and good governance in Bechuanaland, decision that rapidly incited riot. Both the Labour and Conservative parties acted unjustly towards Seretse to appease white racist sentiments, reality later acknowledged by former Labour Prime Minister Clement Attlee. Fortunately, Seretse was permitted return home in 1950 for the birth of his first child. Subsequently, he brought Ruth to England, where she reconciled with her father. In 1956, following message from the Bamangwato to the Queen in London requesting their chief, Seretse was finally granted permission to return home. He swiftly renounced his role as chief, established the Bechuanaland Democratic Party, and triumphed in the 1965 elections, paving the way for Botswana's independence in 1966. That same year, he was knighted and served 4 terms as president, with Ruth supporting him gracefully, despite never mastering the local languages. In the comments section below.